All right, so welcome to the Complete to Compete Title III program. We're glad to have you with us. This program is brought to you by UAS Juneau and Sitka Career Services programs. Please put your questions on the chat box and Deborah will answer them at the conclusion of the session. Thank you. And today's program is Job Search Strategies, and our presenter is Deborah Reidman. Deborah is a University of Alaska Juneau campus career services coordinator for all three of the campuses. She has over 15 years of experience working with high school and state job centers and has been working at the UAS Juneau campus for over 8 years with students and alumni. And my suggestion is pay attention because she knows what she's talking about.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you all for being here this morning. You know, as we know, the job market has changed a bit in light of COVID-19, but the good news is employers are still hiring and remote and virtual opportunities are also available, more so before the pandemic. This session is designed to introduce you to some new and strategic ways to conduct a job search. And here's what we'll be covering this morning. We're going to take a look at some of the top sites that I would recommend searching first and how to go about searching those most effectively. There's also some new remote virtual job search sites that have come up. And so through the collaboration of our three campuses with Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Southeast, we've come up with some virtual job search sites that I think are reputable and are definitely have some new opportunities for people that are looking for more remote opportunities. Then there's some websites that have a specific purpose. And so I have a chance to introduce those to you and how best to use them. And then lastly, we'll be uncovering the hidden job market. Oftentimes there are jobs that exist out there, but they're not posted online. So how do we go about finding those jobs and what are the strategies that are involved with that? So feel free to put any questions that you might have in the chat box. And then towards the end of our session, Jeff will be able to answer those questions or at least pose those questions, and we'll be able to cover those once the session is over. So feel free to do that. So where should you look? Like I mentioned, we're going to show you how to uncover the hidden job market, but let's get started with some of the different websites that you can get started with here. So the top 4 websites that I recommend starting with are the ones that you see on the screen. And in the chat box, if you could also just mention if you're familiar with some of these. So if you're familiar with Indeed, so go ahead and type in the chat box if that's a website that you have used in the past or if you're familiar with. And then USA Jobs, this is for federal jobs. And I don't know if any of you have ever applied for a federal job, but it's a bit involved. So we're going to take a look at how to do that. And then Workplace Alaska, the state is still hiring, which is encouraging. And so we'll be able to take a look at how students can identify some jobs with the state of Alaska that are specific for them. And then of course we have the Alexa system, which is a great system because employers can post jobs on Alexis for free. And so you have a wide variety of jobs that are available through Alexis. So let's take a quick look at some of these. In fact, let me check with the chat box and see what we've got. Okay, very good. So let's take a look at Indeed, because this is one of my favorite websites to use when it comes to job search because it's kind of like a Google for job search. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to keep it wide open and we're going to go ahead and type in Sitka and then see what comes up. So as you can see right here, this is page 1 of 44 jobs. And so for those of you here in Sitka, these might be familiar to you. So these are the ones that are listed. And you can see right here, remote work is available for that particular one. Now, a lot of times what they will ask you to do in Indeed.com is to submit your resume through Indeed.com. And I generally discourage people from doing that because it's more effective, in my opinion, to apply directly with the company's website. With Indeed, you're not quite sure where your information is going to be going. And sometimes if you post resumes on job sites like this, then you'll get all kinds of offers from places like insurance companies. So it's not really as effective as I think it could be. So that's what I would just suggest, is avoid doing that. But what you can see up here is there's lots of different filters that you can use. And so here's an option for remote. So there's just one, and then we have some temporary remote ones as well. So this is just a good one to check periodically and see if there's anything out there. Now, USA Jobs, the federal government is definitely still hiring. And so, especially for students, when you're working with students, there is a section down here, so I'd encourage you to direct them to this particular link below. And so if you click on students and recent graduates, this will take you to opportunities that the federal government has for internships with students, seasonal positions, etc. And then for our recent graduates, there's some opportunities for them as well. So they can go directly to this link and be able to see those opportunities right up front. So you keep on scrolling down, and then you can click on search internship jobs. And so for seasonal positions for the summer, these will be listed. And as you can see, there are 122 jobs. Now, just for fun, let's see if there's anything in Alaska. So we have 4 jobs that are here in Alaska. In our session tomorrow, internships and volunteering, we're going to take a look at one of these a little bit more closely. But these are some different opportunities. And of course, when they say multiple locations, then once you get into the link, you'll see all the different opportunities in different locations. And so, in fact, let's go ahead and click on this one here. And so, as we can see, the different locations are listed here in Alaska. Now, if we want to refine our search and go directly to see what's available in Southeast Alaska, I think I did check on this, and I don't think there's anything available in Sitka. But just for fun, we'll see if there is. Maybe things have changed since yesterday. Okay, take a look here. And here's some more locations. So Sitka must be in here a little bit further down. So in Alaska. Doesn't look like it's listing it. So sometimes, check and see if some of these are available. The pay scale for the 4 and 5, that indicates a high school level. And so that's another filter that you can use when you're looking for jobs for high school students or new graduates. Okay, so that's USA Jobs. Now, the thing too, we're going to go over this in the resume section or the resume session. There's a specific way to apply for jobs with the federal government, and it's pretty involved. So I would recommend getting in touch with me, and I've got a template that I'd be happy to share, and we'll go over that during the resume session. And that is something that can definitely make the process a lot easier. So federal jobs, there's a lot of opportunities with the federal government, so encourage people to go in and take a look at those. There's other filters that you can use on the side here. And we actually did a session on federal resumes, and it took a whole session. I mean, there's so much involved with finding jobs and how to apply for jobs with the federal government. And so I'm available to answer any questions if you have a client or a student who's interested in applying for a federal position. then let me know and I can help you get started on that. And then Workplace Alaska, we're all probably fairly familiar with Workplace Alaska. So for students that are looking for employment and for internships, then they would go directly to the link up at the top. And let's see if there's any opportunities that are available. Yesterday there were 0, but that may have changed. So as of now, there aren't any positions available, but I would encourage students and other customers to just check and see what's available, especially with the jobs for all job seekers. Oftentimes things will come up with Workplace Alaska. And now another interesting thing about Workplace Alaska is they changed how people apply for jobs. It used to be exclusively a cover letter, but now they're using supplemental questions. And so in the resume session, we'll cover the specific type of cover letter that has been working really, really well for applicants with jobs with the state. So stay tuned for that. Then of course, Alexis, as we know, you have to create an account. So it's a little bit involved, but once after you create an account, then you can go in and see information that is not visible for people who do not create an account. So, and you have to update it periodically. But, and again, if you see a job on Alexis that you're interested in, then I would recommend, again, going directly to the employer and apply through the employer as opposed to the Alexis system. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Glassdoor, so in the chat box, if you could type in if you are familiar with Glassdoor. This is a really great website to use. When I was an employment specialist in the Seattle area prior to moving here to Juneau, we use this quite a bit because what's great about Glassdoor is you can search for jobs, but what we used it for is to find interview questions that candidates experience when they were applying for a particular job with an employer. So we would go in and take a look at those interview questions in preparation for our clients that were getting ready for an interview. And then also gives you some reviews of some companies. And so this is a really great resource for you to use. So let's take a look at it. Okay, loading now. So as the page is loading, you can see you can put job title, keywords, or company. There's a drop-down menu where you can look at jobs, interviews, reviews. So there's a variety of different things there that you can start with. So let's go ahead and, just for fun, we'll type in Sitka. So as these are loading, you can see that maybe some of these are familiar to you and what the status is, how many days it has been posted. You can also use some filters here and add some additional types of search criteria to what we have listed, but there are 138 jobs that are listed in Sitka. And I would pay attention to, the date when it was posted, because sometimes if jobs are posted here and they stay up for a while, maybe the employer just didn't, neglected to pull it down. So I always try to find the ones that are fairly new and then go from there. Now let's take a look at interviews. Now I'm just going to go to the University of Alaska Southeast. And we're going to do a search here. And I was wondering, I thought, yeah, I got it too refined here. So no offense, been going to take out Sitka, and we'll take us directly to the university. Okay, so here we are. So we're going to go ahead and click on University of Alaska Southeast interviews. There are 4 listed interviews on the next page, and it'll give the questions that the candidates were asked for the particular job that they were interviewing for. And then also you can see reviews and different salaries. So this is a really great resource site to do some research. I was working with one of our alumni a couple weeks ago, and she was getting ready for an interview with another university in the lower 48, and we went to that university and we found it was like a gold mine of the different types of interview questions that they were asking, and we found a pattern of similar interview questions that they asked for a variety of jobs. And so we prepped for that, and sure enough, they came up. So it was really fun to be able to see how this tool worked, and it helped her prepare and helped us, help her get ready. So Glassdoor is another one to add to your toolkit, and I think it's fun to just spend some time exploring that, do several searches, and then also pay attention to the jobs that are posted on Glassdoor. So that might be something that you haven't had a chance to explore yet. Now the next opportunity is through Handshake. And Handshake is a platform that UAA, UAF, and UAS are currently using, the career services offices. And so it's basically UA system-wide, where all of our students were invited to activate their account in Handshake. And what Handshake is, it's a platform specifically for college students. So if you have any students that you're working with that are currently or planning on becoming students at UAS, then they just use their single sign-on. So what they use to get into UA Online, UAS Online, those are the same credentials that they would use to get into Handshake. So all of our students in the UA system are already in the program, but the students have to activate their account to be able to access the different features of Handshake. So here's a link for students to click on, and then they just type in their username and password, and they can look for jobs and internships. They can also connect with employers and also with some of their peers at the other campuses. And then through Handshake, employers can find students, and so they can do searches on degree programs, their level, if they're juniors, seniors, if they're getting ready to graduate, and they can reach out to them for some jobs that are coming up. So, so it's a really great platform, very robust, very user-friendly. So I'd encourage you to help students activate their account, and then they would have access to all the different features here. Now, with the job climate right now, there are some virtual remote job search sites that have come up. And I worked with my counterpart up at Fairbanks, and so she came up with some of these websites that she really kind of drilled down to see if they were legitimate. And so here are the top 4 that I think could be fun for job seekers to explore. So the very first one is Idealist. And these are all free websites. There are some websites, and she does have one listed on her resource page. It's called Flex Jobs, and it's a pretty good site, but you do have to pay for it. But the rest of them are all free. So, so this one is free. So I'm just going to go right into jobs, and then And you can see we can search for internships, volunteer opportunities. So it's got lots of different search options. So we're going to do Sitka. Oops, yeah, I typed that in the wrong one. No, okay. Let's see what we've got. So we've got different search options here on the side. And so if you click on, let's just take a look at what kind of remote opportunities are available. And so we've got some jobs here for people to peruse. And then, of course, with remote jobs, the location doesn't really matter as much, but some of these might be kind of connected with different programs that are around the area. We see a lot of Seattle here. And so Seattle is a close location to Southeast Alaska. And so that's probably the closest that they could get to. So here's the jobs. You can search for internships, volunteer opportunities. So this is a fun one to kind of check out. And again, if at all possible, if you can apply via directly to the company's website, that would be preferable. So, but that's one resource for remote work. Another one is Remotely. And what's nice about these is they really don't require you to subscribe necessarily. And so you can kind of go peruse the different areas here and see what types of opportunities come up. Skip the drive. And in this one, you have to browse first by category. So you have to select the category. So let's go ahead and select customer service. And then you can see what different ones are available. And right here, let's go ahead and just put in Alaska. And some of these might be familiar. Most of them are in the Anchorage area, but these are remote positions. And so these are ones that I think job seekers can definitely check out and see if any of these might be of interest to them. So that is Skip the Drive. And then Working Nomads is the last one. And in these, you can definitely select whatever area that you're interested in, and you can do a search for remote job. And in this one, you may need to subscribe now. So yeah, this is the one that I think I did have to subscribe. And what I got was an email that just said that they're going to send some job alerts to me. So you can try that out and see how that works for you. But this is another website that could be helpful. Okay, and any questions that you have on these, feel free to post those questions in the chat box, and then we'll be able to answer those questions at the end of our session. Now, LinkedIn, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with LinkedIn. It's a professional networking website that is extensive, especially in the lower 48. When I was working as an employment specialist for the Employment Security Department down in Seattle prior to moving here to Juneau, we required all of our clients to create a LinkedIn profile because there are a lot of companies that would recruit exclusively through LinkedIn. Now, for students, LinkedIn is a great way to connect with people within their degree program. They can find mentors through LinkedIn. We have alumni that have LinkedIn profiles, And so if you're working with students, I would highly recommend at least getting them signed up and into the system, so that way they can kind of browse and see what's available. What's one particular aspect of LinkedIn that I especially like is the groups. So you can be part of a group and then be able to connect with people in that group, definitely a lot easier than outside of the group. And so those groups are made up of different professional groups, like accounting professionals, biological sciences, fisheries, those kinds of things. And so you can do searches for groups and then be able to connect with people that are in that profession. And then there are a lot of jobs that are available, and they have this really cool hashtag. And as I mentioned, you can take notes. So take a note down with a hashtag hiring now. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, you can go in and type in hashtag hiring now, and then you'll see all the different types of companies that are currently hiring for positions. And so if the students that you might be working with, if they don't have a LinkedIn and not quite ready to create a LinkedIn profile, but you do, then you can search for some of those jobs on their behalf and be able to get the information and see if that might be a good fit. And let's see, so the next one is Twitter. Now, I don't use Twitter as much, and I'm not sure if those of you who are here do the same, but one strategy that is definitely something to keep in mind is if you create a Twitter account, and then you go in and you follow companies and industry professionals. And so if there is a particular person who might be very active on Twitter with a company or an agency that you're especially interested in, then you can follow that company or agency and follow that person. And people on Twitter who are active on Twitter, they pay attention to that kind of stuff. And so if they see that somebody is following them or are following their company, then they're more inclined to engage with that person because of that. So that's just a strategy to keep in mind. So here's an example, like I mentioned. So there's a couple other hashtags that you can use. I did a search on this recently, and so what they've got instead of the listings that are shown right here is they go right into each one of the positions that are currently available. So, so again, if you have a LinkedIn account, you can go check that out and see what kind of opportunities you might find. So as we know, everybody, for the most part, the majority of us have found jobs through somebody that we know. And so networking is really important. And as we know here in Southeast Alaska, I honestly believe the degree of separation here in Alaska is 1. So you can literally get in touch with that key person who could be the hiring manager or close to the hiring manager just by talking to somebody, and they can put you in touch with them. I ran into this as soon as we moved up here, and it's pretty incredible, which is great. So people like to hire people that they know. And I know a lot of the students that I work with, oftentimes they haven't had to use a resume because they've just gotten jobs by talking with people. But some of these strategies that we've gone over, especially the slide prior to this, is you can expand your network just by connecting with them through either LinkedIn or through Twitter. But also there's some other ways that you can connect with people within their organizations. And so we really highly encourage this particular technique because networking definitely is the best way to find a job. Now, this is a really great website. I subscribe to this particular resource, and so it's only available through the Career Services webpage. So as you can see on the screen, those are the navigation path. So you have to follow that navigation path to get to the link for this particular website. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This website is particularly helpful for students who are kind of considering their options for degree programs. It's also really helpful for parents if a student is choosing a particular degree program and they're thinking, well, what are they going to be able to do with this? So this really expands your scope of reference when it comes to what you can do with particular degree programs. So let's check it out. Now, if you don't go through this portal, it's going to ask you to pay for it. So you want to make sure you go through this portal and then go ahead and view all majors. Now, the different majors that they have loaded here are more common majors, but you can find some of the more specific majors embedded with kind of a grouping of a particular major. And so since our liberal studies program is pretty robust here at UAS, we're going to go, if we can check out liberal studies. There we are, under humanities. So as you can see, there's lots of different options to explore, but under humanities and liberal studies, it starts with the area. And so in this case, it's education. And here are the different types of jobs that you can do within that area. Here are the typical employers. And here are the strategies that you can follow if you're interested in really exploring what you can do with this major. And so some different activities and efforts that you can become involved in. Then it goes into advocacy. So all the different areas that you can do with a degree in humanities or liberal arts and the different type of employers. And it just keeps going down. And what's really great about this is oftentimes we have a very limited scope of where you could go with a particular degree program, what type of employers exist for that particular degree program. And so then this really opens up some more opportunities when it comes to job search, as well as maybe mentoring. So connecting with different employers for that purpose as well. At the bottom, here's where a lot of the gold is, in my opinion. These professional associations are fantastic. I would encourage you to explore those a little bit because oftentimes these professional associations have student chapters, or if you're looking for, if it's your own job search, you can connect with people within your professional industry. So those are fun to check out. Occupational outlook, what does the outlook for employment look like? So you can see what's currently going on, some resources. And then there are some specific employment opportunity websites that you can also check out. So, so this is just an amazing resource that I think would be really fun for people to check out. Now I mentioned the hidden job market. So when I was working as an employment specialist with the WorkSource, it was like the job center here in Alaska. We learned that there's a lot of jobs that exist that are not posted online. And if you've been a hiring manager in the past, you probably know you've got an idea for a job or you have a project that you're thinking about. And it's a thought, it's something you would like to do, but you haven't been able to kind of act on it. And so in connecting with people and asking them about potential opportunities, you might be able to land on something that hasn't been posted yet. And if you've been a hiring manager in the past, you know when you have to post a job and then you have to go through everything, and oh my goodness, it just takes a lot of time. So if you have a candidate that is interested and has contacted you, then all of a sudden that makes your job a lot easier. So how do you go about uncovering the hidden job market and finding those connections? So I've got a resource here that has really been great in helping to do this. So this is with the state of Alaska, and it's the Department of Labor and Workforce Development. And here is where you're going to go when you get to this website. So it's where employers, these are Alaska employers that are listed here. So let's go ahead and check that out together. So with this page, you have to select an area first. And so we're going to go and get Sitka. It's like, okay, there we are. It's down below. Okay, so selected Sitka. And then go next. And then we're going to go into health care and social assistance. And as you can see, there are several different broad industries that are listed here. And so within these broad industries, there are more specific ones. And so part of what you might need to do with this at this page is to check out what's under unclassified establishments. This is another one where I found different specific types of industries housed under professional, scientific, and technical services. But just for demonstration purposes, we'll go ahead and select healthcare and social assistance. And then click next. And then you have a variety of different, more specific areas that you can select. So we're going to go ahead and click on individual and family services. And then the next screen is going to hyperlink you to all these different companies that are within this specific area. And so by clicking on these, it will give you the name of the person, the phone number, and oftentimes the URL. So you've got a name of a person you could contact either via email or phone. You've got the website that you can go and explore. And so this is an amazing website to be able to take a look at some potential opportunities of some businesses in the area that you may not have thought of. And so, and it gives you a point of contact for them as well to get started with. So when we get done with the session, we'll be emailing you the slide deck. And again, this is hyperlinked, so it'll take you directly to this website and you can try it out and see what you think. So that covers the topics for our session today. And so tomorrow we'll be talking about and covering internships and volunteering. I'm super excited about this. I'm highlighting some of our students who have participated in internships. We'll be able to see some resources and how to find internships and volunteering, and then also earning college credit for internships. So we'll cover a little bit about that process. And then on Thursday, we'll go into resumes and cover letters. And we're going to look at several different types of resumes and several different types of cover letters. There are templates that we'll be taking a look at, and those templates will be emailed to the participants so that they can try them on if they'd like. And then our last session next Tuesday, the 23rd, virtual interviews. So how do you conduct a virtual interview, preparing for it ahead of time, and then making sure that you're all set up and ready to go. And so we'll cover some tips and tricks on that, and then have a chance to, of course, with each session, have a chance to ask questions or answer questions along the line. So people can register via Handshake. All of our UAS students have an account. They just need to activate it on Handshake. And then also we have our online workshops registration form. And so you can feel free to register for any and all of these sessions coming up. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Jeff.
All right, well, thank you, Deborah. That was great. So we are done with this part now. I'm going to turn off the recorder and we'll get into if there's questions, etc. It was being recorded. All right, so I'm looking in the chat thing, and well, Rebecca said hello, thanks for having her, and she was familiar with Alexis and Glassdoor, and this is amazing. So I don't know if there's any other questions that people have. There's none on the chat.
Just to clarify, when I was saying this is amazing, I was talking specifically about the Uncover with going into the Department of Labor and Workforce Development. That was a really cool resource I haven't heard of. And then also just the remote job search websites were a really cool resource to find out about. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Deborah, especially the remote websites. Those were really good to be able to see.
Great. Yeah, and I think the more we become familiar with them, so as you guys go in and kind of check it out, then you'll be able to help your clients navigate a little bit easier. So we're just becoming familiar with them and how best to use them.
I guess this is okay, Rebecca, too. I would think that the two folks that you have, they would be more than welcome to participate in this too.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been having some trouble getting a hold of them because I've been trying to tell them, but I'm supposed to meet with them both today. So hopefully I can get them to join tomorrow because I think it's a great resource.
Well, it's great for everybody. I got a bunch of stuff for me.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and I think tomorrow, especially for the students that you're working with, it's going to give them a broader kind of a broader view of what they could do and what's available to them. And these are specific, most all the opportunities that we're going to be covering tomorrow they're specific for students. And so it's pretty great. And I think they would be really, really encouraged to see what's out there.
Absolutely. I'll pass it around and just have everybody in the agency share it so that we can hopefully get some more young people in.
Sounds good.
All right, any more questions? I guess that's it.
Thanks again.